When one thinks of Africa, he may think of exotic animals or beautiful jungle settings. In that regard, Ghana is like a mini Africa, possessing all of those things and much more. More importantly, though, Ghana is home to 50+ languages and dialects and approximately 26 million people, many of whom are on their way to a Christless eternity. The good news is that Ghana is one of the ripest mission fields in the world today, and I have witnessed that firsthand. Our journey to Ghana began deep in the concrete jungles of New York City. We were able to see a few sights, but more importantly, the team was busy planting seeds of the gospel, and by God's grace, one man received Christ. The next segment of our journey took us across the Atlantic Ocean to the beautiful city of London, England. We were able to see the Tower of London, the London Bridge, and St. Paul's Cathedral. The area surrounding St. Paul's is a very historic corner of London. If the walls of this gargantuan structure could talk, they would tell of Tyndale's Bibles being burned here, and all of the first edition of the King James Bibles being printed here. Also, it was right here on Aldersgate Street where John Wesley was converted, where D.L. Moody first heard Spurgeon preach, and where David Livingstone listened in rapt attention as Robert Moffat described seeing the smoke from 1,000 villages in Africa which had yet to hear the gospel. Finally, after over 6,000 miles of travel, the team touched ground in Accra and headed 6 hours northward to our base in Techiman, where we dove into the work immediately, heading up a youth rally the night we arrived. That Sunday, the team split into groups of 2 and headed to churches in the surrounding villages to preach and teach in the Sunday schools. I stayed in Techiman, where I taught a Sunday school of 50 children. The majority of our time in Techiman was spent teaching in the Christian school. The team was split into groups of 3, and each team taught a class for 3 hours each day. My group got the privilege of teaching 93 fourth graders 2 of the days, and 90 precious kindergartners the other day. These kids quickly stole my energy and my heart. We were privileged to see 68 children come to know Christ from those 3 days alone. In addition to teaching at the school, the team got to participate in door-to-door witnessing. By God's grace, 2 men I spoke with received Christ. The team also was privileged to visit the chief of a neighboring village. This man is a Christian and needs our prayers. He faces adversity almost every day because of his faith. He commented that the PCC teams always encourage him spiritually. The first week also entailed a visit to an orphanage where we handed out toys and played games with the kids. One of the most eye-opening experiences for me happened when we set up a Bible club in the impoverished village of Adutri. These children were very different from the ones in Techiman. They seldom smiled, and it was easy to see why. Many of the children were emaciated, and many more had the characteristic extended belly from lack of nutrition. This child had no clothes and was using a small towel to try to cover himself. We gave clothes to as many of these kids as we could and tried to lighten their spirits by singing songs, playing games, and telling them a Bible story. Sadly, our stay in Techiman was only short-term, but the Lord had plans for us in the northern part of Ghana, in the farming village of Bolgatanga. We kicked things off in Bolgatanga by hosting an open-air meeting where we set up a projector screen and played a film about the life and death of Jesus. Many accepted Christ that night. I was blessed to be able to witness 7 of those precious children pray to be saved. We were also able to set up 2 Bible clubs in Bolgatanga. These kids lead difficult lives, and it was our pleasure to be able to bring them a little joy. Next came a pondside baptismal service, which was a touching experience for all. Just to hear those precious young people's testimonies and see them take that next step in obedience to God's command moved me to tears. On the way back to Techiman and Accra, the team was able to stop at several nature parks for some much-needed leisure time. These stops enabled us to see much of the beauty of Ghana and gave those of us with adrenaline addictions our fix. Back in Accra, we ministered at one more school and saw several more children saved. I think the saddest part of the trip was having to leave. The Ghanaians quickly became like family to us, and the Volantes home in Techiman became a second home. We knew that it would be strange returning to our comfortable air-conditioned homes after living without those simple comforts. But even without those comforts, the people of Ghana still possessed more joy than most people in America, and I will miss those precious people dearly. The Lord worked in amazing ways on this trip, both in the lives of the people of Ghana and in the lives of each of the team members. I think if any one of us could describe this trip in one word, it would be life-changing. I know I will never be the same. Thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful experience.